a face for radio.
How about podcasts?
That works.
And we already got people on the live Instagram live feed. Are we?
All right, we're up on YouTube.
Okay. I'm trying to get this Facebook thing working.
Yeah, we're up on YouTube. I'm gonna send out a thing on Instagram saying that we're live.
F it, we're doing it live.
F it. F it. Matt, is that you? It's Matt.
Darth Vader.
Yeah. Who's blowing in my ear? Yeah.
That's how it sounds with my CPAP.
I know. I've been there.
You definitely giving Vader a run for his money.
It's like singing you to sleep. Soothing. That's how it sounds with my CPAP.
All right. So that was.
Loud.
What is that? The YouTube feed?
No, that's the Instagram feed. I just logged in on my Chromebook to make sure the Instagram feed was working. Hey, everybody on Instagram, how you doing? Looks like we got Ground Pounder Coffee's here. I told you guys the story about Ground Pounder. I got to run into an old friend that I haven't seen in like 20 years, and he happens to be the brother-in-law of the guy that started Ground Pounder. So Ground Pounder's going to be on the show in a week or two. Mountain Habit's here.
I won some Ground Pounder.
I know you did. You got some of that. What event was that?
At the
the Stone Brewery, right?
Yep.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Full disclosure, I don't drink coffee, so I'll have to trust you guys.
I do. I love coffee. The more coffee there is, the more I drink.
Coffee saves lives.
Does it?
It does.
George Medeiros Jr. is here, specifically probably because he knew Joe was going to be on the show.
Just trying to get that head count up.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Joe shows up for a live feed, and all of a sudden the viewer count skyrockets. So you're up on
We're
YouTube.
live.
Instagram's up, and
if viewership jumps by a ton, it looks like I'm off the show and Joe's just I'm replaced.
no, it just means I got to build a new table so that more people can fit. Oh, you know what, Joe? You'd sent me that outline.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pull that up so we can look at it. Well, I can't see that. All right, everybody, we're going to get started. We are streaming live on Instagram and YouTube and possibly Facebook in a little bit, if I could figure it out. But
We can skip Facebook.
yeah, we can skip Facebook this week. We have Joe K here in the studio today. He came by for the next segment of the Trail Medics segment. The next session of the Trail Medics segment.
Does that mean we can actually get demonstrations, like
Ooh,
visual
CPR.
demonstrations?
Matt, lay down.
Mhm.
Lay down, and we'll
Go
have
on.
Joe do
I'm
the.
listening.
We'll make sure Joe compresses properly
Whoa. Hey, what was-
and does the mouth to mouth.
Hey, Jose, what was the
I didn't
joke
sign off for that.
Oh,
from Mojave?
well, you gotta take your pants off to do this.
Pants off,
That's
pants
right.
off, respiration, recovery.
Resuscitation.
Yeah, pants off resuscitation.
There's so many ways that this can go wrong.
Oh, you know it's going to go wrong, dude. You know it's going to go wrong. So, as you guys can hear Matt, he is sitting over on the casting couch underneath the TV where the cameras are. You can't see him. He'll be back on once Joe's
Audio's bad.
done. But
Sorry, Matt.
the studio was recently remodeled for 3 people, and now it looks like I need to remodel it again. But I got to get it done before January 6th.
Hey, are you checking the audio levels? Apparently it's really loud. It's muffled.
Muffled? That's interesting.
Yeah, everybody's saying, boo, audio, bad.
What?
How's that? Is that any better, guys? Anybody talking? So I just turned the audio down a little bit. Maybe. Oh, you know what it is? How about that? How about that now? Everybody, main mix out. Audio boo. Anybody? Is that better? We got a
Nope.
nope. No better. Well, Susan's going to tell us it's not better anyways, just to give us a hard time. Super muffled. That's crazy. Same setup we had last week with the output from the board.
It's just to give us a hard time. Yeah, it sounds bad. Confirmed. Sounds bad. Same setup we had last week with the output from the board. Yeah, it sounds bad. Confirmed. Sounds bad.
Is that any better? No. Hey, we are not professionals here. Hold on.
We're still figuring it out, guys. I'm sorry.
How about that? No, that locked
No,
it off.
Gotta block everything off. So the YouTube, they're saying it's good.
Oh, you know what, Matt, the black cable plugged into the phone right there. Will you jostle that? Will you make sure it's plugged in all the way?
It's in. Can't you tell?
No, I didn't. I couldn't tell you were in. So the YouTube feed is good, but the Instagram feed is not. Huh. Hold on, let me try.
It's too loud.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to. I don't know what.
I sound great, apparently.
Bullshit.
Matt sounds fine. It's Cody's mic.
Check your gains.
Yeah, I do. Listen to me.
Well, it's all the.
Matt sounds fine. It's Cody's mic. Good. It's like a. We're in the Matrix.
So what about Jose? Does Jose sound okay?
Yeah, do I sound alright on the Instagram? On the Instagrams?
Yeah. What about Jose and Joe? Do they sound fine? Is it just this mic?
Yeah, do I sound fine?
You got to speak up louder.
I gotta talk louder.
No, it
No,
sounds
it's-
blown out.
It's,
What about Jose and Joe? Do they sound fine? Is it just this mic? Yeah, do I sound fine? You guys can get left.
you need to keep talking, Joe. Say something.
Hi. How are you?
Why so timid, Joe?
So my volume all right? Does it come clear? How's it go?
Is that any better?
I think Joe sounds fine. The half a second he said something.
What about Cody? Does he
Yeah.
sound fine now?
I want to know how I got these scars.
So Joe's good. Ground Pounder says it's getting better.
What about Cody? Does he sound fine now?
Is that a little bit better?
It's better.
So Joe's good. Ground pounder says it's getting better.
Are we having a Chernobyl?
No. It's not Chernobyl. It's I was getting all this other stuff set up, and I switched a bunch of the cables over here in the mixing board, and I may have just hosed up one of the dials.
No, it's not Chernobyl. It's I was getting all this other stuff set up, and I switched a bunch of the cables over here in the mixing board. And
I think we're okay.
Closed up one of the dials.
Is it the glare? Am I throwing off too much glare?
Yeah, it's Joe's head. For some reason, the computer doesn't like Joe's head.
I think we're okay.
That's a common problem.
Okay.
Is it the glare? Am I throwing off too much glare? Yeah, it's Joe's head. For some reason, the computer doesn't like Joe's head.
Is your mic just turned up too high?
Okay.
I just turned mine down, but I had to bump up the main output, or the recording software wasn't picking up anything.
I just turned mine down, but I had to bump up the.
Turn it down a little more. It sounds like it's just.
The recording software.
And this is real entertaining, huh, guys? So,
I
Joe,
know.
what's up?
Hey, so this is behind the scenes, guys. You see how messed up this is? I'm making it up as I go. Well, so right here is where we typically record at, and everybody can hear me, right?
Yeah, you sound good.
People on YouTube are saying lower the gain.
It's already lowered.
Here is where we typically
Hey, Dave, don't tell me to do my job, all right?
Who was that? Was that
DR2
Dave? Yeah, I don't know if it's the gain because all the gain settings and everything stay the same. And I think what the balance is trying to make the recording software capture everything. Is that Jose? Is that okay? I mean, Matt, is that okay?
It sounds like you guys are too loud. Like it just needs to be. Just turn it down.
Well, it's turned down, but if I do that, the Audacity is not picking anything up. There's no recording there.
See, it sounds good now.
Yeah, it sounds good on
Instagram,
but the Audacity file is not going to. I'm gonna have to crank the Audacity file to make it work.
Yeah, it sounds good on Instagram, but the Audacity file is not going to. I'm gonna have to crank the Audacity file to make it work.
Let me try something here. Hold on.
Was the volume up on the computer?
Is that it? I think that might have been it.
Check 1, 2.
Chickadee, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Man, it's like 20 minutes of us fumbling through everything. Apologize, guys, for the technical difficulties.
No, they tune in for this. They tune in to watch us fumble.
They do tune in for the shit show. I mean,
It's getting worse.
All right, well, then Instagram, I guess we're going to have to figure that out.
just lower your volume on your phone.
Yeah, turn your phone down. I did find that the output on the computer was cranked all the way to the top, so I dropped that down, which means now I'm getting...
Sorry, Joe, for taking up your.
I know. Joe thought he was coming into some kind of professional,
that was mistake
professional operation here, buddy. But this is what you get.
You know, I've wheeled with you guys, right?
Yeah. This is what you get.
I've seen this operation in action.
Okay, so we'll start the intro over again. Matt? Are we good enough on Instagram to keep going? I'll just have to figure it out for next week. I mean, last time I tested. We could.
Matt, are we good enough on Instagram to keep going?
Yeah, I think.
I'll just have to figure it out for next week.
Is this an intermittent thing, or are you constantly making adjustments? Because right now it sounds okay.
Okay, then we'll just go with this, and I'll make the Audacity file work, because if YouTube's good and this is good, then you know.
I got relegated to the casting couch, so we're having tryouts.
Well, Matt's been talking so much trash about me lately. I decided that we're going to try something new.
So is this the audition for the full-time gig?
Yeah, it doesn't pay well.
Story of my life.
It's a funny thing. Actually, you have to raise your own capital.
Yeah.
Into our own account.
Bring your own vehicle.
And then, once you start bringing more and more people in, then that's when you'll start making money.
Oh,
You got to bring in people.
All right, hold on.
The casting couch isn't soggy yet, but
Ooh.
The night is still young.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. All right, everybody. We have Joe K, the trail medic, in the studio. We're live streaming. We just spent about 20 minutes trying to figure out the volume on the live stream. I still don't know if it works. I don't know. I don't know if. I hope you guys on Instagram can hear. Apparently, YouTube is okay. We still haven't gotten Facebook to work, but whatever. We're going to punch forward. So, Joe, our resident trail medic, the last time you were on, we talked about first aid kits and some of the things that we needed to have in our first aid kit. And today you got a whole nother thing going on. Tell me what you're going to talk about.
Well, I want to talk about getting permission to help somebody and the Good Samaritan Law that protects do-gooders when they decide to stop and help. Because it takes a commitment from somebody to decide, hey, I see a problem and I want to help somebody.
Yeah. And can you speak up a little bit?
Sure. So the Good Samaritan Law is common in most states in our country, and they can vary a little bit from state to state. There are a couple states out there that if you are trained in first aid and CPR, you're obligated to stop and provide care. Here in California, we're not obligated. So
Oh, really?
in many cases, people won't stop.
Huh.
The minimum you should do if you see something going on is to dial 911.
Oh, wow. Real quick, check to make sure your mic is on. There's a switch on the bottom.
It's on.
Is it? Okay, for some
I
reason,
think.
Joe's not coming in, and barely coming in.
How about now?
No, now it's off. Now it's on. All right, Joe's just got this really soft, supple.
I think it was off.
Yeah, you gotta scream at people like I do.
Yeah, Joe's got a soft, supple voice. So we're going to start this all over again. Too bad, Joe. Deal with it because I want the. Here, I'll turn your mic up a little bit because it's just not picking you up. All right, so, and this is what happens every week, you guys. This is what happens. This is the show that happens. Hey, Casey. All right, hey everybody. We have Joe K, the trail medic, in the studio for the third time because we're having all kinds of issues with our live stream. For those of you that are trying to catch it on Instagram, we're having audio issues. Sounds like YouTube is going well. We couldn't get Facebook to work, so we're going to start it all over because I think Joe's mic might have been off.
When we redid the studio, we were more concerned with looks than audio quality.
It's,
Well, no, it worked fine last week. I wonder if the wireless mic that we have you on is causing some problems. I don't know. But
What do you know?
nothing. I'm making all of this up as we go. So Joe, he was here last time and talked about first aid kits and stuff, which was great. And today he's going to give us some insight on Good Samaritan laws and some of those topics. So Joe, first, welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
I know you've been here for a while, eating some pizza, watching us fumble our way through trying to make the audio work. But let's run through. You've got a really cool outline of all this stuff. So let's start all over again with con ganas, with vigor. We're ready to go again.
Yay.
Better, much better.
All right, so the Good Samaritan Law, it provides protection for do-gooders when they decide to step forward and help somebody who's in a time of need. So what it basically says is if you act in the best interest of the person and you work within your training level and you're not doing it for compensation,
Okay.
that it does protect you as long as you take the right steps in legal action, it will protect you.
So the compensation piece, you mean, so if I'm not a professional healthcare provider or emergency medical provider, that's what you're talking about, right? Like the Good Samaritan Law protects me as a non-EMT. Does it also protect an EMT?
It protects me when I'm on the trail with our crew and we stop and help.
Yeah.
As long as I'm not like, hey, you need to pay me for my service.
Oh, okay.
So and when I'm acting as just a do-gooder, I'm protected. And when I'm on duty on the ambulance, the conditions change.
Okay, that's where I was trying to get to.
That's
it's
more
like
like a company insurance issue.
Well, then at that point, there's company or agency insurance, but it's also there's a duty to act. When we're on duty, we're in uniform, we're on our trucks, we are expected to respond.
no matter what, right?
No matter what.
Yeah.
So if we saw something going on the trail, I have the option to drive right past it.
Huh.
I could never do that. My soul wouldn't let me, but
Cody could.
I disagree with that. I know I'm soulless in most cases, but I disagree with that.
Cody causes more accidents.
Hey, you're on the casting couch. You're on the bench. I don't need to forget.
Oh no, I'm still here.
I shouldn't have hooked up
I'm
that
still-
wireless mic. I
I'm still-
swear that was a bad idea.
Participant. I'll sit in Joe's lap to get in on this.
well, I've seen Cody stop and back up and get the winch out to save my butt once. So
Yeah, well, see, I did it.
he had the opportunity to leave.
So with that Good Samaritan Law, it protects those that are doing good, not trying to get compensated, just out of the kindness of their heart. So if something goes horribly wrong, you could say, hey man, I was doing my best to help out. You mentioned in that up to your training level. What if I've got no training? What if I'm just like Jose and I don't know anything and I roll up on
true.
and I roll up on something and I'm just trying to pull someone out of a burning car.
Well, it would apply in that situation too. So it's when you're acting in good faith and you're not trying to do anything that would hurt the person. If you believe that it's a life-threatening situation and you need to remove the person from the vehicle.
What if, I'm sorry, but they're burning and they're on fire, they're pinned somehow and they're stuck, they are on fire, they're sizzling, but you got to cut their arm off to get them out. What do I do?
Are you trained?
I'm being serious.
He knows how to use a sawzall. He's trained in sawzall skills.
First of all, I have a pocket knife. And it's sharp. I sharpen it on a regular.
It's going to take a while to cut through that.
27 hours.
Somebody, I'm trying to
It's gonna
save
take
a life.
27
George.
hours.
This is serious. You
It's-
just, in a honest way, like you have to maim somebody in order to save them. Are you legally like at risk?
Well, you're trying to save their life. So there's a dangerous circumstance. In all reality, you're not going to have time to cut their arm off when they're on fire and the vehicle's on fire. Right? You're not going to have that kind of time. Unless you're
I'm in my work truck.
unless you're
I have my
Casey
cordless
and you bust out your
bandsaw
tools and
ready to go.
Yeah.
So I mean that's you also have to consider
10 seconds.
So our next episode, I'm intending to talk about scene safety, and the car on fire presents a safety issue for the rescuer. So that's another avenue to pursue, but you got to deal with what you have, and if it's life threatening and you had to cut their arm off, I mean it's a rabbit hole kind of a question, but you want to do what you can to get them out.
What if you don't like the person?
You don't have to stop.
Yeah, then you just drive
But
by, man.
what if you don't like them and you see an opportunity? You could use power tools.
Wait a minute. So
This is your dream scenario, Cody.
So this is I get wrecked and I'm pinned in my truck and
Yes, go on.
Matt's
That
like
sounds good.
perfect opportunity to get Cody back for that arm cutting off
You
story.
talked about me
And
waking
you're-
up
yeah.
out of like concussed.
And so you're just
and
looking
you
for an
were cutting
opportunity.
my limbs off
You're
2
looking
weeks
for an
ago.
opportunity to cut me up. That's some messed up stuff, dude. I was
It's
providing.
called karma.
I know.
It's
it
called street karma.
is. So,
Trail karma.
so what kind of considerations does someone have to take if they do roll up into that scene? So they roll up on a trail and there's a tipped over vehicle and the people inside are pretty messed up. Like what if I know that the Good Samaritan Law is on my side? What do I do next? Like how do I approach that situation?
Well, the first thing you have to do is we have to look at how safe it is for us to approach. We have to size that up and determine, is the vehicle stable? Is it unstable? What condition are the people on the inside in? There's a very kind of a complex with a rollover vehicle. That's a complex assessment that has to be made. And if you are approaching that kind of vehicle, you have to think about how do I make it safe?
Yeah, how do you not hurt yourself? How do you don't put yourself in a position where now you're going to be another victim?
The fundamental first step of approaching a scene, in addition to taking care of yourself as far as like your protective equipment, is making sure the scene is safe. And if I can't make it safe myself, then who do I call to come in and make that safe? Now, when we're on the trail, it can vary from we have 911 resources that are within 30 minutes in some cases. When you think about Cleghorn,
Yeah.
and there's a fire station not too far on both ends. That's a pretty good place in that area. But we get further out.
Mojave. Yeah, you're in Mojave. You're 4 hours from anybody getting anywhere.
So being able to, sometimes it's just shore it up, wait
I mean,
for a
like
professional.
Barstow's even the closest,
Yeah.
and good God, you got to be in pretty rough shape. I got to get to Barstow.
Sometimes you
Think
have to
about that.
you have to wait for those professional resources to come in to take care of the situation. But other times you may not have the time. So this is where having the right training comes in to ensure you don't get yourself hurt. Then we need more resources to come in and take care of you. So it's sizing the scene up is an important piece. and it's like too complex for us to go over.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm picturing a scenario. You got a vehicle rolled over on a fairly flat surface that's stable. Okay, you can get someone out. You got a vehicle rolled over and it's teetering. Then okay, you got to pull a vehicle around one side, hook the winch up to it so it's not going to go anywhere, and then try to get people out, or something like that, right? I mean,
absolutely. You want to take the resources you have at hand. I mean, in our group, we've got 2 winches, right? And then we'll also want to put some blocks or rocks or things like that to shore the vehicle to keep it from continuing to move. We also want to see what kind of condition our patients are in, because if it's not life threatening, and they happen to be sitting upside down, suspended by their seatbelts. Okay, just sit tight. Let's make sure you're okay. A head, neck, back, spine injuries, those can present some lifelong challenges if they're handled incorrectly. So we have to be very careful about that.
That's a really good point, because I think most people, adrenaline kicks in. Oh, we got to get them out of the vehicle. We got to hurry up. But if they're not in any pain and there's no fire and there's no gas spilling out or no threat, let everything settle down, and then take the time to do an assessment to make sure you got the right plan in place.
Yeah, let's make sure the car is turned off.
Oh,
right?
Good point.
Let's make sure it's shored up. There's a lot to that. So we want to make sure it's safe before we start to help. So that's a key component there. So as long as we're, like I said, as long as we're acting in good faith, that we're staying within our training. So as an EMT, I have a scope of training. I have certain protocols and rules that I have to work within. A paramedic uses IVs and advanced airways. So if I were to grab an advanced airway and try and insert that on a patient while we're out on the trail, I'm outside of my scope of practice. Even though I'm acting in good faith, I'm outside of my scope of practice, which puts me at liability for anything that goes wrong there. And I could be in trouble for anything that goes right.
And at that point, I would think a judge would say, that you don't know how to use that tool, you shouldn't have done it, right? Whereas if I happen to have one and I tried, I don't have any training, and you stick the tube in, right? I wouldn't know any difference. What about consent? Like Good Samaritan says that if I'm acting in good faith, I'm good. But do you have to ask for consent in order to get for that Good Samaritan law to kick in?
Absolutely, we have to ask for consent. If a person is alert, they're aware of their surroundings, or making eye contact with you, before you do anything, you should ask. You should introduce yourself. Hey, my name's Joe. And in my case, hey, my name's Joe. I'm an EMT. Can I help?
Okay.
And if they say no pound sand, kick rocks, leave me alone. Okay. As long as I'm going to ask them a couple of questions first to make sure that I know that they can make a competent decision. And as long as they can answer who they are, where they are, and like the time of day, then the law says, in my case, that they can make decisions informed and they can refuse treatment. If they're altered or unresponsive, then we kick into what we call implied consent.
Yeah.
So the first is, if I ask, can I help, and you say yes, now it's expressed.
Okay.
They've verbally or
they've given your permission.
I was going to ask.
What if it's? I'm sorry. What if this is like that episode of Star Trek where that guy, all he could do, he was like in a future space wheelchair, and his face was all mangled and it was melted, and he couldn't talk or nothing. It was really sad because it made me think, damn, there's still crippled people in the future. But all he could do, he just had a light on his chest, and it would just blink once for no and twice for yes. Could you, let's just say blinking. Could you say blink twice for me to save you? Blink once for me to leave you alone.
Does that count as
Does
consent?
that count?
Like
consent?
if he really say, for some reason they were non-vocal and they couldn't move. If you asked them a question like, "Hey, can I help you? Do you consent to me helping you?" and they blink once for yes.
As long as I get an affirmative response.
Okay, so what about? Let me ask. Don't worry about it. We do it all the time. We bang these things.
I didn't answer my question.
Oh, he did. He said he did. As long as it's an affirmative response.
No, but I was just going off of that.
Oh, you asked your question then.
Oh no, but so I was going to say, what if they deny your help, but since you are a trained professional, like as an EMT, like you're supposed to, like, does that do you have to help them because you are like that's your job?
In a professional setting? So
no, like just if we're on the trail, even though they said no, like do you still have an obligation as an EMT because you're trained, like you have to help them?
I don't have an obligation to provide care in this case.
Okay.
So since I don't have an obligation, I still in my DNA I'm
Yeah,
going to stop and help.
Yeah.
So when I offer that assistance and they decline it, that's okay. And the good thing is I'm going to have witnesses, right?
Oh yeah, he said yeah. He said yeah.
My crew.
Exactly.
The guys I expect to be on my team.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say like that guy said he wanted us to help him.
So what
I got
about
your back, bro.
what about in an instance? It's President's Day weekend in Glamis, and there's only 3 people in Glamis that are sober, and you roll up onto a sand rail that's flipped over. Clearly, they're crap faced and
Or what if they're all knocked out?
they're shit faced and I'm
What if
trying
they're
to
all
be.
knocked out?
You guys ruined it. I'm trying to be nice. Or they're knocked. No, I'm just saying the knocked out piece. That's the implied consent, right?
Okay.
If you would expect that they'd say yes. But what if they're drunk and they're combative? No, I don't want you because they don't want to get in trouble. They don't, whatever.
That's our old crew.
Well, that's why I'm asking this question because I've been in situations. I've been in situations where the person driving
one
is
weekend a year.
yeah, completely shit faced. And dude, sit down,
who's
you're
gonna be
okay.
this?
And they're fighting it. No, I'm fine. Just pick everything up. And then you're like, no, dude, you're bleeding from your head.
Dude, your
Sit
knees
down.
bending
Yeah.
backward.
So
That's
what
not good.
What about in that situation where clearly the person is not in their right head, and you need to do something to save them, but they're fighting it? As a Samaritan, as an EMT, it's different, but as a Samaritan, what do we do?
So at the same time, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to offer my help, ask for consent, and if they tell me no, then I step back and I wait until they fall over and they're unresponsive, and now I help.
Now you have implied consent. Okay, that makes sense.
But that's a very tricky situation. Hopefully, they'll have people with them that would help convince them. Hey, you know what? You need to stop. You need to sit down. Let them help you. We get resources. Try to get resources on the way, and I know that there's extended ETAs in those areas, but I'm not going to go to blows.
Yeah.
To try and help somebody.
Yeah.
So that's a very slippery slope, and to be honest, that's why I stay home at those times.
Yeah, no, that's why we stopped going President's Day weekend.
This makes it so difficult because it's like it's a case by case basis, right? Like you have to,
for sure.
and you have to make so many. You have to like do all this. You have to get consent and then analyze the situation like in seconds. Like you have to do this super fast and then react. Because sometimes you only have a few seconds before the time is coming and gone before you can do anything.
This conversation right now, this is day 1 of an EMT class. When we get that legal and ethical portion of the class, and it's at the very, very beginning, and we have all these what if kind of questions, and it's you just have to apply the principles that we use and try and make the best decision you can. And in the off-duty world, we do the best we can, and hopefully we can make a positive impact.
So by taking this class, are we trained professionals?
Yeah,
now?
we are now. Anybody that needs CPR, Matt and Jose and I are ready to do that.
We have an unorthodox method.
Pants down resuscitation.
Yes. Somehow, Matt, please explain the pants down resuscitation. I don't understand.
I can't do it right now. It takes a good 3 or 4 hours of
Drinking.
drinking.
I don't remember
and
how
and
they.
then it'll come back to me.
So let's be clear. All the views and points made by the Trail Chaser team don't all
Yeah.
reflect
That's
legal
lame.
ideas of trailing.
So the intent of the Good Samaritan Law. So let's say you come up onto a non-critical situation where a guy's got a gash in his arm and he's bleeding, and you happen to have a good first aid kit, and you help flush the wound and bandage it and put a splint on it, and then 3 months later, you get a letter from a lawyer saying you're getting sued because he got gangrene in his arm and they had to amputate it, and it's your fault because you treated him on the trail, right? The Good Samaritan Law protects you from that kind of stuff, right?
It does. In order to prove that, in order to nail or try to get some sort of judgment out of that kind of case, the person has to prove a lot of things, and one of them would be that the person who provided care did something negligent right?
Mm.
And that they did something out of their scope, and that they did something. There's a lot of things that
Would it have to be intentionally negligent or just negligent out of ignorance?
Well, a negligence can be either an act of commission, something you did, or something you didn't do.
Okay.
So it can go either way, but it's that's where it's important to stay within your training and within your scope of practice to ensure that you don't do things that put you at risk. But as there's no intent, there's no malice. I was trying to help. I used, we were in an austere environment. I used the best resources I had at the time, and if I didn't take action, he would have bled out and died.
Yeah. So is there anything we should do as the person providing the help? Like, should we film, ask them for consent and get the video of it? Can I help you? Yes. And then like film what you're doing and then get their name and number and all that stuff and file some kind of report just to have backup, or is that just way too much?
I would think you'd want no evidence of what you did.
Depends on what
were
you're doing.
Cody. If I were you, no evidence.
That's a very tricky idea to record it. I would step back and take notes on what did I do, what did I use, what did I find, just for my own record, in case I was called upon. If it was something where we had two vehicles that collided and they were on a highway and we were trying to do stuff, after the dust settles, I'm going to try and make some notes about what I saw, what I did,
a field report,
kind of a to be similar to what we would do on duty, just so I can remember what, in case I'm asked later.
Yeah.
So, but it's not a requirement. First aid, providing first aid at the scene of an emergency as a bystander, that's not a requirement for that.
Okay, that's good. I think the group that we hang out with, if we came across an incident on the trail or on the street or whatever, I think every one of us would want to pull over and help out, and I think that's part of the community, right? The off-road community does that. They help each other out. They take care of people. Anything else on the Good Samaritan stuff?
No, I think that's pretty much it. It's it's act within your level of training and do what's in the best interest of the patient. And then the minimum thing we should do when we find an emergency is to call for help.
Okay.
We've talked about the different avenues, and I think we'll do another segment on that down the road.
Yeah, we should do a whole segment on, call 911, but I don't have a cell signal. Okay, then what's the next cascading, how do you get all the way up to sat phone or something? Like, what are the
I
different...
was going to say, is there technologies like that?
Oh, yeah.
It's like ham radios.
Reasonably affordable, where it's, I don't have to be like James Bond.
There's
there's a lot of avenues, like that radio sitting back here in the corner. That one's a very low cost entry point into the amateur radio field. I have one. I've got another.
Does it have astronaut communication capabilities?
I haven't got
Because that sounds like that's what I need.
So hopefully Santa comes by and reads my list, because I put a it's called a Garmin InReach Mini.
Oh,
right.
So it's like a GPS.
Yeah.
But it also it allows you to send text.
Yeah, like
via satellite.
program text, like
No, you just use your phone and you text.
Is Santa logged into the live feed tonight?
I don't know. I'm not watching the Instagram.
Okay, yeah. Santa, if you're listening.
And it's relatively cheap. It's like $300.
Okay.
I think there is a yearly subscription. But
I think there's a monthly on that too. Like
Yeah.
you can do it. You can
You do it
split it
monthly
up just
or-
for the trip.
yeah,
and
you're right.
like
You're
for
right.
that month.
But it's it's a great way to get if you don't have ham access. This way you can talk to first responders, and they can read what's going. You can send
Okay.
messages.
And that's
It's
it.
a-
So
It's a text message.
It's awesome that Jose's working that angle too. It gives us, as long as we have, the more avenues we have,
Yeah.
the better. And we also need to cross train. So, like, I need to show you guys how to use the radio in my truck, and you and I need to communicate with the profile for our other radios, because with the ham radio, you have to use it on a normal basis. You have to have your license.
Yeah, no,
If it's an emergency, then the rules are off, and you can get on it and use it as a non-licensed operator.
Yeah.
In an emergency.
Yeah, but we all need to get it's something
Yeah.
we've talked about 100 times. We just haven't pulled the trigger on it. You were the first one to do it. We all just need to get our ham license so we have it.
For everybody to be familiar with how to operate that tool, makes it so if I go down and we need to use the radio on my truck, we can't.
We've already decided you do not have the option of going down. you do not have the option of being up. But you had sent me those frequencies from the ham, and I had programmed one of my radios to just monitor, so I turned it on in the truck, and we could monitor that frequency of I forget where we were, in the Santa Fe or something like that. And so I had the normal radio that I was talking to everybody else on, and still being able to monitor the ham. So if something happened, I had the frequencies all programmed into the device. But I think that's a big piece of it, is understanding how to call for help when the time comes. You also had on the agenda some conversations about training. Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So getting trained on what to do in these situations is, an element of that Good Samaritan coverage is to be trained and know what to do. So there are different levels of training, and one that everybody can get into is just a basic first aid class. In a lot of cases, people are taking those classes through work because their employer is providing that, and there's different ways for that training to be delivered. So usually it's either going to be an in-person class, or it can even be a hybrid class where you spend some time online and then you go to class for a few hours, maybe a half day, depending on the content of the class.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some providers out there that are strictly 100% online class. And I caution people about that 100% online class.
Yeah, because even, back in my days as a lifeguard and stuff, there's enough CPR first aid stuff that you need to physically hands-on experience with, that I couldn't imagine an online class could give you that.
Right. There's a lot of hands-on portion that you have to practice with supervision to ensure that you get the feedback you need if you're not doing something appropriately.
I was going to say, I think Jose knows all about online hybrids. Right? Right, Jose?
No, I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Come on, dude. Inside joke.
So the different types of classes people can take are, you can take a CPR only class, a first aid only class. You can take one that covers both first aid and CPR. There's also there's a big initiative right now with the Stop the Bleed program, with the violence that's happening in society, the shootings and stuff. Stopping the bleed is something that can prevent death, and that's the learning how to use a tourniquet and pack the wound. That's a short class. So it's like a 2 or 3 hour class.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's a short thing. So focusing on what you're going to do, on what type of training you're going to take, will help you kind of channel the types of classes that are available.
So what's your suggestion, though? So, let's say your average person that's not trying to be an EMT, but wants to be able to react appropriately in a situation where someone's hurt. CPR, first aid, stop the bleed.
So some first aid, CPR first aid classes will incorporate the advanced bleeding control techniques.
Okay.
Some will only cover basic bleeding control, but there's different levels, different depths of a first aid class that you can take. So it's just, you want to focus on the one that will best suit your needs. So for people who are in the four-wheel community, you want to, if you can take one that includes additional depth for taking care of limb injuries,
mm-hmm.
or more serious bleeding, those kind of things, then it's a good idea to take that one. If you're somebody who doesn't get out much and you just you do your thing around town and you're not really in any outdoors distant environments, then a traditional first aid class is appropriate, because you're going to have that 911 response that'll be there within 5 or 10 minutes, depending on
Yeah, I would think someone that's listening to this show has some level of adventure life, and whether you're camping or, even some campsites, there's, immediate support right away, but if you're camping, or off-roading, there's the chance for burns and lacerations and breaks and things like that you need to be prepared for. So I would think that advanced course would be required. Where can people go to get those courses?
So there are a number of vendors. The big two, American Heart Association, the American Red Cross. They're both very, very well-known providers. There are others like Medic First Aid, or ASHI, the American Safety and Health Institute. they are both other providers that provide similar caliber to those two, the first two.
Okay.
But if you look up any of those four, and there's some sort of class finder on their websites, and that's where you would punch in your zip code and the kind of class you're interested in, and then it would pull up either their course schedule, or in some cases it funnels you to a list of providers, because with American Heart, Medic First Aid, and ASHI, they authorize other companies or individuals to teach their programs. So you would be contacting a third party who's authorized by those groups to teach their course materials.
Okay. All right, cool. And a lot of those, you and I have talked about this offline, a lot of those third parties, like you can set up a private training and get your group together, and you could set it up to where if there's an off-road club and they want to do a meeting on Tuesday, they can have a guy come in and do training on first aid and stuff at your club.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea, something to do soon. What else? What else you have on here? Advanced training. So what's considered advanced training, and when do we need to get to that?
So you can jump right into an advanced training course. Something like, depending on where you're at, will define the type of professional level rescuer courses. So EMR is what we call the emergency medical responder, and this is more of a respond to the scene, treat the patient at the scene, and then hand it off to another provider who would transport them to the hospital.
Okay.
So that's give or take 40 to 60 hours depending on where you're at. That training is that certification level is not available in California.
Really?
Yeah, it's our baseline level in California is EMT.
Oh.
So EMT is the emergency medical technician training. That's about 160 hours. It's in the community college. It's about a semester.
Okay.
You can get it in little as 9 weeks. You can do it over 16 weeks. And there's community colleges. There's private institutes. There's a number of resources in LA and Orange and Riverside and San Bernardino counties. So we've got a lot to offer there. The other one is wilderness training. So there's wilderness first aid training. And there's two groups that are kind of at the front of that. It's NOLS and then the Wilderness Medical Associates.
So NOLS, NOLS?
Yeah. They both have good websites. So I have decent experience, but I'm actually looking at taking the NOLS Wilderness EMT upgrade to expand my skills. I'm hoping to do that in the early portion of the summer.
Do you need an EMT before you do NOLS?
No, NOLS actually offers wilderness first aid. So you can just be a wilderness enthusiast and take the NOLS class, the wilderness first aid class.
What would be the difference between your American Red Cross EMT, first aid course versus the NOLS course?
Well, NOLS is looking at the outback, on the trail, in places where you're not going to have easy access to 911.
Okay, so that makes sense. So more sustained. You're now having to sustain someone for hours because it's not just a quick stop the bleed and then wait for the ambulance. It's okay, now you have to sustain someone and then transport someone, and you have twigs and duct tape at your disposal.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I've actually been on rescues when I was working for the fire department where we had to hike out to get to the patient, and there's a lot of equipment that has to be carried out there, and it's a pretty significant effort.
Cody, what would you do with those twigs and duct tape?
Oh, dude,
in what scenario?
Wrap them around his Achilles.
No, well, how many? Wait, whoa! How many?
How would that help you?
So how many twigs do I have, and how much duct tape?
As many.
Are we talking about your legs?
So
and you have 1.5 rolls of duct tape, the old school.
Yeah,
gray,
the good gray stuff, not the venture tape.
Stuff, the 200 mile an hour NASCAR tape.
Because the new venture tape, duct tape.
No, that
sucks.
Come on.
It only sticks to itself.
We're not trying.
No, we're talking silver, thick, sticks forever duct tape.
Exactly.
I would use
something
those.
That would actually probably help you survive.
I could use those twigs to create a splint on the person's broken Achilles. And then,
and so you're going to go from personal experience, and tell us how.
And then, if we had enough twigs, we could string them all together if they were big enough, and then use duct tape as webbing to create a stretcher so that you and Jose could carry him out. You and Jose could carry me out.
Yeah. You mean you? Okay.
Yeah, I know we're. I don't want to bring the show down, but I know we're like laughing about
Do
this. I'm gonna bring it down though. Unfortunately, this past weekend, one of the search and rescue
Yeah.
members from San Bernardino SAR, he I don't know, passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
He
Tim,
got- he got-
Tim Staples.
He got separated from his rescue partner, and dude, they found him. I guess he froze to death out there.
What? That's how he passed.
So
I'm assuming. I'm assuming. I don't know what happened.
What I saw in the news was that he was separated from his partner. Don't know how, nor why. And he was found at the bottom of some sort of ice chute
Okay.
where he had fallen. I'm not really in the know on this. I've seen the news stories, but Mr. Staples was a teacher and coach at Damien High School, and he also taught at St. Lucy's High School, where my daughter goes. And they canceled today's game, the soccer game for the girls, so they could participate in a prayer service for him. And actually, that's what freed me up to come to the show tonight. So yes, our thoughts and hearts and prayers go out to Mr. Staples and his family.
And the point, I think the point is, I mean, he's a trained professional.
That's exactly what I was saying. Like the point I was trying to get across was, even trained professionals can fall victim to
The
to real
circumstances and the injuries. Yeah.
So I'm like,
And he's a volunteer. He's not
Right.
He's not a paid guy.
no.
Which, I mean, doesn't he's doing it out of his free time. He's committed to doing this, and yeah, I mean that's where that whole scene safety piece
Mhm.
really is at the forefront. When you get there, you have to size up the scene and make sure it's safe so you don't get hurt. You know, he was working in a very
They were in Baldy, right?
yeah, they were. Excuse me. They were.
Joe, you just coughed right on me. Like, right on me. I mean, we're telling like a horrible story here, but
But it wasn't in your mind.
what kind of trail medic is that? You're not on the trail, so you don't have any.
He's trying to give you the antibodies that he's built up,
Oh,
so
my
that
I don't want those. I'd rather keep your antibodies away from me. All your bodies.
Yeah, so scene safety is huge. We have to
Yeah.
make sure we're safe and we don't become part of the need for rescue.
Yeah, and how do you? I mean, who knows? I'm sure there's going to be plenty of search investigations, but I mean, getting separated from your partner, that seems pretty significant. Like, if one of them slips and falls, and the other one,
Yeah, but we don't know what kind of conditions they were working.
No.
in,
They
what
split up
protocols
to
they were
go try to,
following.
yeah.
And so, I mean, that's why it's huge to always be in contact with your team, right? So we take those steps, and we all have a radio with us.
Yeah.
So that's huge, and keeping track of everybody. Designate who's the tail gunner, who's the lead,
Yep.
and how we're
I remember my
checking.
first time podcasting.
Joe, stop trying to karate chop my
He's
microphone.
punching
What's
Matt's
going on?
mic.
I think I may get relegated back to
Video
Justin's-
chat.
Back to his room.
So that's important, like the communication. So I think we told the story last year, but I had asked for some Bofang radios for Christmas and ended up with 9 Bofang radios for Christmas. And at first I was like, oh, it's crazy. I'll just maybe return some, but I kept them all, programmed them all to the same frequency. So whenever we go wheeling with someone that doesn't have a radio, I hand those things
It's
out,
huge.
and
It's a huge
everybody
game
can
changer.
communicate, and it's a big deal. Back in the day, we had CBs, and a couple of us had CBs, but there was always a point where you had to stick your head out the window and yell at someone, "This is where we're going." Having those radios, and I mean, they're not expensive. Those Bofang UV5Rs from Amazon are $40 or something like that. I mean, if everybody had them and just program them to the family radio frequencies, because everybody's got those, that's a huge. If someone got separated from our group, there would be someone on one of those frequencies where you could say, "Hey, man, I'm stuck in a hole."
Right. So I actually have one of those Bofangs also.
Yeah.
But the ones what I use with the crew on our trail runs are my little Midland
Mhm.
extreme talkers. I leave those dedicated for the team.
Yeah.
And then my Bofang actually has the FRS frequencies in it also, but it also has all
The ham.
stuff. And what I do is before we go out, I always make sure that wherever we're going,
You get the repeater.
I have those repeaters programmed in. So whether it's on the 2 meter or the 70 centimeter, that I have that coverage. And as we're going along, I'm every so often checking to see if I'm hitting this repeater, and if I'm not, then I switch over. And I have the appropriate simplex frequencies programmed in. It's the direct call. So the day we were up at Cleghorn, I don't know if I told you, but I was talking to a guy that was on the other end of Lancaster. and that was direct radio to radio. So that was pretty awesome. But making sure that we're prepared with our comms is a big piece to make sure we're keeping track of each other, and it's just a good practice.
Yeah, and we've developed a pretty good, like a normal operating procedure, right? So I'm usually in front, Jose's usually in back. There's plenty of communication going between, and he's always stop smiling, like 12. There's always a good communication throughout the train.
No, that last trail run we did with that snow, dude, that really opened my eyes to the communication part of it.
Yeah,
because it was so big, right? Like I just had to keep relaying, and I was in the back. I had to just keep relaying, like, yeah, there's 3 cars that didn't. We made the turn, like, okay, tail gunner made the turn, like, because the guy in the front doesn't know. He's probably like a mile out sometimes.
Yeah. How many rigs were on that?
15.
15, I think. Yeah, it was quite a bit. The Mojave Trail, when we did the Mojave Trail, there was 12 of us, and we got spread out at times, but everybody had communication. Speaking of trail runs, I'm trying to pull this up right now. We talked about how many people were going. So one of the reasons that we limit the amount of vehicles that are going on an individual trip is because of that, because you got so much communication going on. But we are doing a trip in the next couple weeks. We are going. I don't have this set up correctly, so I'll have to set this up. So I'm not going to announce it on the live feed. So we're going on a full trail mapped out yet.
No.
Jose hasn't figured it out yet, but we did talk about it yesterday. Matt, Jose, and I were talking about it yesterday, trying to figure it out. I think we got a really good idea of where we're going to go. But if you are listening and you're interested in joining us on that, you can go to trailchasers.net, and we will have a button there, and it looks like the live feed just ended. So, Joe, thank you for coming on and doing the Trail Medic segment. It's the most informative part of our show. We need you here, so I appreciate it. Do you know what you're going to do in the next segment?
Well, we kind of touched on it today, so it was team safety.
Okay.
But I'll figure something else out to fill that block. But in addition to that, I really want to talk about the stop bleeding, bleeding control. That's a pretty big one. And we'll talk about the different ways to control bleeding and places that you can go to look for training for that. And then we'll go from there.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, man. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next one.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me save this.
Can we pause the stream on YouTube?
I don't know. I think if you pause it, it's going to stop it, right?
Maybe a whole new recording, or
I would think so. Yeah.
See, I paused it.
All right. So saving the recording. Yeah, we need to figure out that sound thing, because this you can tell on Audacity the sound is low.
Okay.
So it constantly happens. So we'll this week I'll have to figure out how to make that sound better. All right. So Instagram Live is dead. YouTube stopped. I don't know if